My image defines my worth.
I must stay positive.
I'm fine.
No one cares.
I am too
I am unlovable.
I must do it
My
alone.
story isn't important.
It's okay to be honest. I am enough.
Somebody cares.
I do not have to do this alone.
I am imperfectly perfect.
My beauty comes from within.
My voice matters.
I am loved. It's okay to not be okay.
My story has value.
So today we are talking about breaking down the lie of I'm all alone, or I have to do it alone. And I know some of us have off camera, so to speak, had these conversations, and realizing that we have all had moments in our life where we feel alone, or feel like we're going through something alone. And so I was wondering if one of you wanted to just kind of kick us off, get us started with kind of what that means to you, this lie of feeling alone.
Yeah, I have a fantastic story. So I haven't had to struggle with loss a whole lot in my life. I've been very lucky. A lot of my family's very healthy. But I did have a dog in my life, and that dog passed away. And throughout that process, my parents were never, like, overly affectionate towards the dog. And I felt like I was the only one that, like, loved it. So throughout that process of me getting over it, it felt like I was sort of the only one that cared. And that was really tough for me to grieve alone. That's probably the worst thing you can do by yourself is grieve.
Yeah, and what, if I may push you a little bit on that story, what was it, grieving alone, like what did that feel like? Like what was that experience for you?
Well, at some point, I just felt like I didn't have anything else to do with my life except for just sit around and watch movies and, eat ice cream, of course, because that's what everybody does. But yeah, it just felt like I had nothing else to do. Like that was just my life at that point, was just sitting around and watching movies and not caring anymore, really, for a few weeks. Yeah. So that was a really long stretch of time for me.
What is it about those moments, and anybody can jump in on this one, but that feeling alone, something that's interesting to me when we talk about this topic is, we're like, what does feeling alone feel like for you? And then we're typically like, I just feel alone, right? And it's like this like circle where I feel alone, so then like I kind of feel like I have nobody, so then I feel alone more. Like what is that journey, or maybe how does that journey lead, where does that journey go to maybe not feel as alone or realize that it's a lie?
Yeah, I think it leads eventually to hopefully a way out. Instead of it just being a constant loop, you eventually are like, I'm not alone. These people did care, going back to what we said a couple days ago, and just thinking that everybody cares, and then you're like, oh, maybe I'm not alone. Maybe these people did grieve and did care about the dog, going back to his story. And I think that's something that would be the way out, is you realize, hey, maybe I'm not alone in this.
Yeah, the point in my story where that happened was my dad typed up a document about how much he loved the dog, and I read that, and that was, obviously I cried, but that really helped me realize that other people did care, and then I could sort of talk with them about the loss that I experienced, and they experienced too, and then I could get out of it eventually and continue to live my life.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes it's just, you can be like with a ginormous group of people and you can feel still very, very alone. And I feel like sometimes in those moments, there's not like a ton of stuff that you can do. And you don't necessarily have to try to fix that right away. But I think just giving yourself time and knowing yourself and knowing the people that you love, the people that love you, and reminding yourself of that can really help. And just giving yourself time to kind of get through that.
Elise, I saw a lot of nodding on that one.
Yeah, I definitely know about loneliness and being alone. I had a very good friend of mine, like I was saying earlier in our chat of this, who moved basically across the country during quarantine. And I had known her for only like a year, but we were actually very close. So it was really hard on me, and I actually did grieve from her moving, I was very scared that I wasn't going to see her or talk to her whatsoever after that. And that was like the beginning of quarantine. And so then it kept getting deeper into me not being able to see my friends, not being able to see my family, and just being really alone with myself. But actually, coming out of quarantine, and I'm still best friends with her, I think that not only did we get closer through just her being so far away, is that we actually cherish a lot more when we finally get to see each other.
And one of the things with feeling alone, that I'm not saying anybody here said this, but I think sometimes, like, so we have the lie, I feel alone, but then I think there's this like lie that comes with it too, of like, and I have to get out of this feeling alone by myself. And I'll be honest, I'll say it up front, I don't believe in that. I think it is a lie. I do think that, hopefully these conversations, being able to kind of break the stigma and silence around mental health helps us realize that, yes, there are steps we take, right? It's not that everybody else can do it for us, but it's also not this idea that I'm all alone, now I have to try to get out of feeling alone by myself. But that step of, hey, I gotta let someone I trust know that I do feel alone. And then seeing some energy and nodding along, whoever wants to jump in, what is it in that moment of like where you're able to tell somebody that you confided and trust, you don't feel alone? Like what's that moment that like kind of helps you through that?
Well, I think for me, sometimes when I feel alone and like I have to get through this alone, sometimes I end up realizing I'm really comparing myself to others a lot. And what I'm going through is nothing compared to what someone else is going through or something like that. And you have to know that it's not always, what it is that's happened to you. It's how you're affected by it. And you have to give yourself space to know that I'm hurting and that's okay. And it doesn't matter why. And you have to let people into your life. And sometimes once you do that, it doesn't get better right away. Like, it's not like you say one word and it's just all rainbows.
It's not the magic Disney princess potion.
It is not.
Right.
Yeah, you don't just snap and then your life is all better, and people don't just say be better and then I'm magically great and
Yes.
I'm perfect.
But I think sometimes it's just like that person that you trust, and then you just have someone. And it doesn't mean that they're with you for the rest of your life or that you're always with them and they're always helping you, but just to share that a little bit. And it doesn't mean putting the burden on someone else's back. It just means like sharing that with them, and then you feel a little more free almost, like you're not just confined to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone being there to receive the feeling of you feeling alone. Mm-hmm. Kind of helps you know that you're not, because someone received that.
And them not having to fix that, but just acknowledging that's okay, that matters.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think that there, like, some relief comes along with just telling somebody that you're alone, you feel lonely. Because the minute that you're able to share that with somebody, you're not anymore, and you know that because they know that you're alone, and they can help you through that process, and you know that they know. Mm-hmm. So
right.
That's half the battle right there. That's very important.
Well, I think that's a great way for us to be able to lead the conversation outside of the screen and into our real lives of being able to start breaking down that lie within our own lives and knowing that we're not alone. So thank you for the conversation and the time spent talking about that. Everybody, thank you for this conversation around the topic of a lie that we believe, that sometimes we believe that we're all alone, or we have to go through this alone. And as you heard in these conversations, the reality is that is a lie, but it is a lie that we believe too. So I hope that this starts conversations for you to be able to talk about it more. And it is hard to take that first step in letting somebody know that you feel alone. But when we're able to do that, we find out that we're not alone. We're not alone in this, and that we have others around us. And so you can check out the resources below specifically about that, and also a continued reminder of the resources that if you or someone you know is ever in immediate danger, there are resources available at all times for that. Please know that you are not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. There are people that care for you because you are enough and you are worth it. Let's continue these conversations and continue to break the stigma and the silence around mental health. We'll see you tomorrow for day 4.
Make sure to like and subscribe.